and then I achieved my goal, and I don't know.
Welcome to our WSL post show. Ronnie Blakey joined by a former Big Wave Tour champ, Peter Mel, and also 77 world champion, Shaun Tomson. How good has this event been, Shaun? And had it all?
I mean, it's been fantastic. You know, you said performance shift. So this year there have been a number of events, I think, where there's been a performance shift. Certainly John Florence at Margaret River, Maddie Wilkinson in Fiji, and now just to see what Filipe Toledo's done here to Jbay, to the place I thought I knew well, man, that guy has taken it to the next level.
Well, I think with Matt we got a performance shift from him, an evolution in his own surfing. But for John Florence at Margaret River, Filipe here now, it's just a whole new brand of surfing. And like I said before, Pete, I don't think we've seen as good a mix of traditional lines and a progressive approach as we saw today.
No, we haven't. And it's been something that we've anticipated, and the anticipation has come to fruition here. You know, we had said about this season about how good the waves have been, and I think that's a big part of it. But the performances in which these surfers have risen in those waves has been second to none. It has been so exciting to watch. I mean, this, you know, we've talked about how this event is probably the best we've ever seen, and so much happened. But the performance level by all of the surfers, the title contenders, and even the guys like the rookie there from Frederico Moraes, I mean, it just goes to show you've got 34 surfers that are in this, and every one of them can put it together. It's just so incredible.
It's obviously an epic feeling, Shaun, being chaired up the beach by your friends, by your peers, but what's it like when you get back to your family and you soak up a moment like this?
Oh, I think for him, he has his new baby there and his wife. I mean, I think it's just the best feeling in the whole world to know that all your hard work has come to fruition. But I think one of the key factors that maybe we've overlooked throughout this entire event, yes, we've talked about the carving, we've talked about this incredible progression, but it's the speed. When I came down to Jbay a week ago and I saw Filipe Toledo on that first wave and I saw him go faster across the wall than I'd ever seen a surfer go before, I thought, wow, he's got something. In the same way I saw Mark Richards in 1977 with that twin fin, he ushered in an age of acceleration. Filipe has ushered us into a new age of speed.
I believe Filipe is checking in with his dad, a former tour surfer himself, Ricardo, loving this moment.
I mean, I agree with you. It is Shaun, that you know, how can we see the progression go from here? It's hard to fathom. It will happen, but it's hard to fathom what we could see more from these guys.
I mean, what John did with that carving at Margaret River, those amazing sublime carves, and then what Filipe's done with the carves and the speed and the air game here, he's like synthesized the greatest parts of surfing and put it together in this explosive package.
Okay, just quietly, can I ask you, what are we going to see for the future? I mean, it's hard to really, truly fathom.
Yeah, I think Filipe is going to be at the forefront no matter what. You know, there's a lot of surfers that have similar weapons to Filipe, but, you know, I've even heard some of those surfers say, oh, it stifled my creativity being on tour. Well, you're just blaming something else, because Filipe Toledo is getting super creative. Like Gabriel Medina, he's not afraid to throw those kind of moves out in a championship tour heat. So really there is no more excuses. If your creativity is being stifled by the championship tour, it's your own fault.
And you get left behind.
So this whole like free surfer thing, man, the best free surfing is happening in finals.
So good.
Yeah, that was amazing stuff, and I just can't wait to tap into some of the highlights. But let's have a look at the ratings now, because this was a crucial event for Filipe. Obviously suspension really kind of stalled what could have been an amazing run through the first few events. He had a semi-final and was looking really sharp, but he's making up some big ground with this win.
He is, and you know, you said that he has that 13th counting in his scoreline, but if you look above in the upper, you know, rankings there's some throwaway scores for all of these guys, and so that's why he is truly in this title talk. Even though sitting at 7th at the halfway point of the year, you know, he gets another win, goes to Trestles, goes to Portugal or France, and you can see him definitely making a run at the back end of this year. Of course, that top 10 looks pretty impressive, though. As
great as he is, I think that there's still a question mark in hollow left-hand barrels. So can he step up at Pipeline? Can he step up at Chopu? I mean, Kelly Slater, when he first came on the scene, there was a question mark against him at Pipeline, and he just exploded onto the scene. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how he attacks that challenge.
We've been talking a little bit about the veterans on tour and the fact that they've maybe sort of started to plateau out as far as the evolution of their surfing, but there's a handful of guys that have so much room for growth, and Filipe's one of them. I mean, even the surfing that he did on some of the taller faces here tells me that he's getting better and more comfortable in bigger surf all the time. It's those big barreling waves now where he can continue to bring that growth and really push and stake his claim for a world title.
But absolutely, but I think that you would say that this would be an event where experience plays out. I mean, if you look at all the contenders that we're talking about in the beginning of this event, it's been changed by Filipe and what he's done here.
Well, it is his 5th year on the championship tour, so it's not like he hasn't had a few reps here. And Gabriel Medina was the same. You know, he'd quarter-finaled here every year, but he'd never really looked like the guy. And just the experience of coming to Jeffries a few times for him looked like it was paying off. But Filipe, I think everyone is, you know, keen to get to him and just say, mate, what you've done is something very special here, and it's going to go down in history.
I think he really showed us what he's got inside of as a competitor, as an absolutely committed competitor. When he did that first air, that alley-oop, which was a 10-point alley-oop, he landed it and he went straight into another. Because, you know, having such an amazing committed maneuver in the bank and then going for another, it just showed us that, man, to this guy, the sky is not the limit.
Well, his lowest scoring heats, round 1 and also the semi-final, but that was still big numbers, 15.17 in a second place finish in the first round and 16.63 against Julian Wilson. He still had a couple of excellent scores. Other than that, he went mad. He put away some of the biggest heat score totals that we've seen. It's one of the most impressive runs throughout an entire event.
If you're going to look at average heat scores throughout, I mean, 14 points is a good average heat total. So he exceeded that even in the heats that he didn't win. And, you know, again, putting 19 points up on a pretty regular basis, yeah, you'd have to say those are the guys that are going to be talking about titles.
It was classic commentator up in the tower, Gex Cilliers, said he's a madman with a chainsaw, and you said, I mean, his surfing is just mad. It's just fully committed. Look at that. He's like a leaf in the wind, like a butterfly controlling the tempo in the air, and then he goes straight into this next one. This has to be one of the best waves ever seen in competition. I mean, look at this. So high and no hand grab, just kind of floating with the wind, understanding, reading that wind. Whoa.
Well, it's footwork, right? And that's his footwork. He's been able to improve with the rail work, and that his footwork in there. He does move his feet around a lot on a surfboard, and you can see how quick he does it, and he does it with such ease, instinct, in the air, especially when he's able to control the board in the wind. There's not a lot of guys that can do that. You got John, maybe Julian, but he's one of the best.
And to me, Pete, to answer your question from earlier on, I guess this is the future of surfing. Seeing performances like this more regularly, more consistently from the world's best, I really hope it kind of puts the fire underneath the likes of Julian Wilson, Jordy Smith, and even John Florence to a degree to start bringing those airs more frequently.
What's great is at the end of a heat when a guy's got 2 minutes left and he needs a 9.2, like we're going, well, it's an easily attainable score. The performance levels are so high now. You saw Federico Moraes yesterday. He needed an 8.9. He got a 9.1 with ease with a minute to go. So the performance levels are really pushing up against the outer envelope of what's possible.
No one had slicker rails throughout this event than Federico Moraes. He was getting the big numbers on those big turns alone. So when that offshore breeze really kicked up and that advantage of being able to go to the air was taken from Filipe, you know, you'd think that would really play into Federico's favour, but he got out-surfed on the rail by Filipe.
He did, but I think that's where Felipe's experience in what he needed to do to change up and get the scores that he needed. I mean, I think he started using a lot of the variety. You know, he carries that speed. He carries a lot more speed than anyone. And so using that to his advantage, but I mean, a healthy mix of all different styles of turns and that float there. I mean, we talk about that wave at the end there and just being able to finish. Oh, geez.
I called that a 10. I thought that was without a doubt a 10. I mean, the level of commitment, creativity, just sustained carving. It was a fantastic ride.
It's time to hand out some silverware, some goldware, some platinumware. Let's throw it down to Joe Tapel for the presentation of the Corona Open.
Thank you very much, Ronnie. This is such an incredible event. First of all, thanks so much to all of you fans coming down here, rain or shine. Through one of the most incredible weeks we will never forget here at the Corona Open Jbay, the sixth stop of the World Surf League Championship Tour, and is so important to the world title race. As you've seen what's happened this week, it's hard to compare this week to any other week we've had this year, let alone any other event we've had here at Jeffreys Bay. So absolutely scoring, and thanks so much for all of you to being such a major part of the story. Also want to thank everybody watching at home on WorldSurfLeague.com. Our numbers are incredible, and we thank you for staying tuned to the Heat Analyzer, downloading the app, millions of viewers there as well. Thank you for all the amazing support. Now this event has a whole lot of history, going back to the old times. 1981, the Beach Hotel Classic, won by our very own Shaun Tomson, who's been roaming around here. I hope you guys got a chance to meet Shaun. 77 world champ, what an ambassador of the sport. Still thrilled to see what everyone's doing today on the wave. There was the whole championship tour movement. Who remembers Mark Occhilupo back in 1984, who just made such an impression on this wave, still the last remaining goofy foot to be #1 on the podium at the CT level. And then the Mick Fanning era, more recently, winning 4 titles to tie it up with Kelly Slater. Joe Parkinson, still a part of this event, and this event will always be remembered for not just one perfect ride, 8 tens at the end of this event in perfect conditions. Big thanks to Jeffreys Bay, the City Council, Super Tubes Foundation for all of their amazing support. Big thanks to Corona. I know all of you guys have enjoyed them this week. They've come on board, the official title partner of this amazing event here at Jeffreys Bay. We also want to thank Jeep and Airbnb for all the amazing support. Now we have some very special people up here. The mother of Jeffreys Bay, Sharon Crack. She used to host all the international surfers, the locals, the first house here up on the point. So we thank you for everything, letting us come back every year. This wouldn't be happening without you. Thank you, Sharon. And Kieran Perot, our first ever commissioner, and he does such a solid job keeping our surfers safe, making all the right decisions to keep the integrity of the sport. And he's won pipe as well. What a legend. Kieran Perot, thanks for being our commissioner. Now this one has so many highlights, and to make a final at Jbay is a huge statement, let alone being a rookie on tour. Remember only a couple names like Parko's first trip here, winning as a wild card. Fanning, his first trip as a rookie in 2002. There's a man that came close to making the same statement, but boy, he had a force to be reckoned with, making the final and finishing runner-up in the Corona Open Jbay, Frederico Moraes. Frederico Moraes, part of the 10-point club in this contest. Fighting back, I might switch places with Sharon. As they celebrate this, 8,000 points just outside. Freddie, what a week. When you've highlighted all the memories, we've been talking about it in the booth. What's been most impressive for you, and what are you going to really remember when you look back at today?
I don't know. I just love this place. It's amazing. I came here last year with Richard Marsh and Ryan Callanan, and I fell in love straight away. It's just everyone is so nice. The waves are amazing. The weather is really similar to home. The vibe that you feel here, it's just crazy good. So it's an unforgettable place. And thank you so much for coming today, watching us and supporting us all week. It's amazing. And you just made us feel like we're home, and that's the best feeling ever. Thank you.
So well spoken. Surfing beyond your years, a rookie on tour, your first final. Did that heat feel different than anything else you've experienced?
Yeah, first final ever on the World Tour, because it's my first year, really. So yeah, it's amazing, and the whole comp was amazing. It's just a big mix of feelings. I'm pretty much speechless. Surfing against John, Mick, Adriano, Filipe, Gabriel, it was a crazy week.
I was about to go there. You had all the world champs on your side, and you don't seem to ever flutter. You always bring out your A game. Do you get motivated even further when you have some of the biggest names in the sport to deal with?
Yeah, I think so. It's always a big challenge, and you always have to step up your game when you're against those guys. They're the best surfers in the world. They're amazing. They're world champs, and if you wanna beat them, you can't blink one time. You just gotta be prepared for everything and back yourself up. And yeah, and Doug Marsh has been an amazing help. Yeah, he's the best coach ever.
Making a final, creating history for Portugal once again. I know you're a hero back home, and also Tiago Pérez watching closely, but making the first CT final, that's got to feel good representing your hometown.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to be able to represent Portugal and be the first Portuguese doing a final on the World Tour. Tiago was the first one introducing Portugal to the world on the world stage, and now I'm here and well making finals, which is amazing. So yeah, thank you everyone at home. Thank you guys. Obrigado Portugal.
Frederico Moraes, runner-up, the Corona Open Jbay, now moves to number 12 on the Jeep leaderboard. As we continue on with this celebration, this next man showed up here with something to prove, coming through with a 19.63 combined total in round 2, and he kept on swinging. 2 10s to his name on the list, and maybe one of the most groundbreaking waves ever ridden. First thing in the morning, back-to-back alley-oops, and then we had the boat ride. Remember that too? That was crazy. What a morning that was. We'd like to introduce your champion of the 2017 Corona Open Jbay, Filipe Toledo. Filipe, I don't even know where to really begin with you, what's been a very amazing week, coming back to tour after missing an event and having such a clear head on your shoulders to go all the way to victory in your first final, your first win at Jbay, the first for Brazil to win at a CT level. You have to be out of your skin right now.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's been an amazing week. You know, as you said, this is definitely going to be the come to remember. You know, for the next 20, 40 years. Not just because I won, just because the level of surfing during the whole week. You know, all the boys surfing amazing. We had like 8 10s during the whole week. You know, that's not a normal thing. You know, but with Jbay, you know, with perfect waves, with the level of surfing going, you know, to the moon, and with the support of all you guys, you know, WSL, and yeah, we can't complain. It was an amazing week. Everything was perfect. So thank you guys. Thanks to all my crew that supported me during the whole week. And yeah, it's a mixed emotion. You know, I can really tell what I'm feeling right now.
Incredible looking back, and a lot of the legends of the sport, like Shaun Tomson, calling your lines completely different than anything they've ever seen here at Jbay. How does that make you feel, and is it something that you're committed to doing every time you put a jersey on?
Yes, you know, especially during the heat on the round 4, you know, with Julian and Jordy, the conditions weren't, you know, not the best one during the morning, and I had to deal with the wind. So, okay, I'm going to the air game, and yeah, that worked pretty good, you know. So I don't think, as Shaun said, I don't think anyone that did that before in Jbay, you know, 2 big alley-oops and then finishing the wave. But whatever, it was fun, you know, waves were pumping, and yeah, thanks to everyone that, you know, was watching, and Shaun and all these guys. It's a pleasure to, you know, receive all these kind of words. Thank you.
Looking at Frederico Moraes right here on stage with you, I was trying to think about what might be your biggest challenge on road to that win. When he got the 9.4 in the final, what was going through your mind?
You know, yeah, the first wave came, and then Frederico, I was like, just, you know, I'm going to go for it. And he was like, just, oh, maybe not, maybe yes. And last minute, he just turned and go. I was like, well, okay. And the next wave was, you know, the second one with a double up on it. And then I just like dropping straight in the barrel, and then did a few turns after that. But, you know, I had to, you know, back it up with Frederico's last wave. And you know, I knew he wouldn't get the score because we've been watching Fred for the last, you know, 5 days, doing some crazy turns, big turns, and getting 10s and 9s every heat, beating Mick, John, you know. So I knew that wasn't be easy. So I knew I had to wait for the good waves and do some real big rail carves, and that worked pretty good.
Well, Filipe, you had to wait for over a year since your last win, going back to Portugal when you won over Italo in the final there. How does this title rank for you, knowing that this is one of the most flawless years we've had for waves? It's a wave with Jbay with all its memories and history. Where does this one stack up?
You know, that's what I said to all the boys over there, you know, winning Jbay in perfect ways, beating Jordy, John, Fred, you know, getting tens and getting barrel every day. It's definitely one of my best victories, you know. It's definitely sitting on the top two, you know. So, yeah, it was always my goal to be in the final and win here in Jbay because it's such a special place, you know. People are so nice. The food is really good. The waves are crazy, you know. So it was always my dream to, you know, be here and, you know, get this trophy back to my house.
Well, you've done it, Filipe. Your final words of thanks before I let you celebrate.
Yeah, I want to thank, you know, all my wife, my daughter, being here with me the whole week, supporting me, and Bruno as well, he's the filmer, and also my family who's back in California, and my sponsors, you know. I don't have words to describe all the support that they gave me during, you know, my whole career. So, yeah, and also I want to thank God for the amazing week that we had, you know. It was unbelievable. Thank you.
Filipe Toledo, your champion, the 2017 Corona Open here at Jbay, moves to number 7 on the Jeep leaderboard. As they'll step to the front for a photo opportunity, we'll send it back to the post show with Ronnie Blakey, Pete Mel, and Shaun Tomson. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Filipe Toledo. A lot of thank yous to be made for Filipe, but everyone in the crowd obviously thanking him for a mind-blowing performance. Frederico Moraes. What a great ambassador he is for Portugal. A lot of support coming from back home, but two very deserving finalists. Can't think of a more deserving winner in this event. Groundbreaking surfing from Filipe, and he is now in 7th position on the Jeep leaderboard. But there was some good performances too outside the top 10. We saw guys making big jumps up the ratings, Pete, and also strong performances from some of the other title contenders.
Absolutely, and I think one of the strongest that I remember in that middle part of the event would have been Jordy Smith. I mean, Jordy Smith with the first perfect heat here, 20 points. I mean, we had talked about how much confidence, Shaun, he was bringing into this event after winning Bolito. He looked like truly the man to beat, especially during those first couple days where he put up performances that were second to none.
Yeah, he looked fantastic. I mean, those effortless surges of acceleration and those power carves and that creativity on the face. You never really knew whether he was going to do like one of those drop wallet cutbacks or a layback or kind of lose the fins. I mean, there was just so much in his repertoire, and he was kind of unlucky as well. You know, he had the heat restart, and then he had the resurf. So he was feeling obviously very, I mean, it must have affected him mentally. And that last heat of his when he caught the first wave and it turned out to be a closeout, and the wave behind it with Filipe was just an epic ride. It was like the gods, yeah, the gods were like shifting against him.
Yeah, we're all sympathetic towards Jordy. Actually going into the quarterfinal heat, Jordy was surfing his 8th heat. Filipe was part of that resurf heat from the 4th round, so he was surfing his 5th heat. But, you know, fatigue had to play a part. This wave is so long. Obviously, the paddle is a factor as well. No jet ski assist, so Jordy did a lot of work in the lead up to that quarterfinal.
I mean, physically, but I think more than anything, the mental fatigue that had to come from that, because you know, you had to in between and dealing with the resurfs and you know, how much do you want to put energy into trying to fight the free surf? You know, it's just like it mentally it had to have been draining.
Yeah,
but he did have that magic moment, Shaun, on Nelson Mandela Day. A perfect heat.
It was so magic, and every single spectator that was down there on the beach on that day will remember this day. Nelson Mandela Day, 2 perfect 10s, the first time it's ever happened at Jbay, and there was just this sort of coming together of the community around his performance and around Nelson Mandela. It was just wonderful to be a part of, and it was truly memorable, and I think it's perhaps once in a lifetime.
He went close a couple of years back, Pete, in the first round, had a 10-point ride, and I think it was a 9.77 but got the job done here. The waves were absolutely brilliant during this exchange, and Jordy's surfing is so seamless from the top of the point right down to the bricks. Just seems every wave he takes off on here is just, it's almost like one big individual turn. It just, he doesn't get off the rail.
Well, I mean, and if you looked at today and when we woke up and saw what the conditions were for this finals day, you would think that Jordy was going to be right there in contention, but it just felt like the wind got taken out. It was that first exchange where, Filipe just put up a 9.5.
So there it is, just that elite crew, that small group of people that have achieved the perfect score. Jordy Smith now joining that group, but we've got some more 10-point rides to run through. As we mentioned, 8 in total at this contest, more than we've seen all year in the one event. The waves really did provide the ultimate canvas for it. Let's have a look at Julian Wilson's 10-point ride. Obviously with 10s too, you're going to see a little bit of difference. Some are better than others, and that's just dictated by the scale in each heat.
And it's true. I mean, but look, like, you just can't help but smile when you look at what the conditions were for this event, and that's why we saw so many 10s.
Yeah, we had 3 types of 10s. We had the air 10, we had the tube 10, and then we had that carving 10. So I'm calling Federico Moraes was the true carving 10. Jordy had an incredible carving 10, but he did do a little bit of a head dip on it.
You'd have to hold your head high being able to convert a 10-point ride on just turns.
A quarterfinal finish for John Florence. I loved his surfing throughout this contest. A really close heat with Federico to decide the semi-finalist, but he continues to impress. He's in great form, and going into Tahiti, he's going to be very dangerous.
With all of the heats that we saw that were close, that one was probably the most talked about, right? And it was a very, very close heat. 2 different styles and approaches in that. A lot more explosive out of John. Some people believe that he won that heat, but Federico at the end was able to turn it.
Well, here we go, another one. Look at this, beautiful barrel. You don't see that too often from right up the top there, so it just goes to show you how good the quality of the sandbar is at the moment too, Shaun, which sits just outside that rocky reef.
Perfect, the sandbar's perfect. I mean, I think we got some of the days out there were about as good as Jbay can get, and it was so, I mean, look at that, the enthusiasm, the energy that guys are showing after they get those 10s, and this was incredible.
One of the best 10s ever in competition. We've said it. We'll keep seeing it. We'll watch it and understand that this is something that we had never seen before here at Jbay.
And this was a real turning point. I felt the resurf of this heat, because it allowed Filipe to shift up and get back into that dominant form, because Jordy was leading the heat when they called it off before then.
A lot of controversy amongst the local community about that. A lot of people felt that the restart should have happened with, I think there was 7 minutes to go with Jordy in a clear commanding position, but Jordy kind of shrugged it off, and he came back firing in the next heat.
A couple of times.
Yes, so true.
Love watching Filipe though, just finish these waves off. I think when you do 2 big turns like that, you can conserve some energy. You can afford to sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Oh yeah, just stand back and
hammering.
Raise your arms and look at the judges, because I mean that was a 10 already, but yeah, he cleaned it up.
So this is where things got really interesting. The resurf, Shaun. Jordy went back out there, and we just sensed the emotion from Jordy. He was frustrated, and it worked in his favour. It lifted his performance to a whole new level.
Very much. He really translated that anger into absolute ferocity on the face here. I think it's this, the end of this ride, you'll see he just tells the judges, man, this is what I'm all about, and I'm going to win this.
Yeah, I wish, this morning we would have kind of seen the same type of aggression from Jordy. I think in his mind, he was probably thinking to himself, okay, I'm going to pace throughout the day here. But when you do that in the very beginning of the morning, in Filipe doing what he did, he just couldn't fight back. Emotionally, just too draining, but wow. I mean, again, his performances has 3 of the 10s of the 8.
And then Fred, and this is the one you like, Shaun, purely because he was able to get it done without the tubes, just purely on those big turns.
Yeah, this was great to see. Just absolutely flawless carving. The guy just lays that rail over. He's riding that squash tail, getting a sort of a little bit more, I think, length out of his turns, and just carving off front and back foot. Wow.
In that heat, the scale was pushed pretty high in the early stages, which is the reason that score went so big in the end. But, well, if you're going to go dishing out 10-point rides. I think Frederico is well and truly worthy of one. But have a look at the numbers. These are the best heat score totals of the event. Whopping scores.
Well, it's good to see Federico, Jordy, Filipe. Jordy with that fourth one. John Florence also in the mix there. I mean, all of those guys putting on amazing performances throughout this event. And it's proof right there.
Well, the scores were the big story. The performance levels were pushed, but there was so much other stuff happening at this event. We had two heats go on hold due to visits from sharks. We had a breaching shark one day. The very next, we had a pretty sizey great white make its way through the lineup, and the vision from the drone was pretty remarkable. It was beautiful.
It was majestic. It's exactly what Africa brings. I mean, we know they're here, and just to see it kind of just gently cruise through, again, kudos to the Water Patrol, the Commissioner's Office in figuring out the protocol here for Jeffreys Bay and being able to execute and get everyone safe. I mean, and then just watch it go on its way and then jump back in the water.
The funny thing is, or the bizarre thing, is it was 2 years ago, the same day, around about the same time. Mick Fanning was in the lineup. He got buzzed by that shark.
It's probably the same visitor.
Mick was in the water again when that happened, believe it or not. That was just bizarre. But I'm guessing there'll be a lay day on the same day next year. I think we'll have a day off.
Yeah.
We'll let that thing just cruise on by. I wonder if it was the same shark, though.
It could be. Why wouldn't it be? I mean, they live many, many years. Who knows? I mean, we don't know, but we can all tell stories like it is.
So Mick buzzed a couple of times now by sharks in competition. Julian Wilson, he was in the lineup with Mick, and he had that scenario here where the heat went on hold with the shark breaching out the back. Filipe Toledo, Margaret River, he was in a heat that went on hold, and also here at Jeffreys Bay. So I think we've highlighted those guys in the draw, and no one ever wants to surf against them for not just their surfing performance, but also the
for
fact.
their animal magnetism.
Yes, exactly. But let's throw into one of the other highlight features of this event. It was the Corona Highline, a specialty event that Corona put together. We had Hugh Thompson shape some beautiful twin fins, a local shaper. And at that point, I was actually kind of bummed we were going on hold and this expression session was going down. But once it started, I was blown away, just freaked out at how well Jordy Smith, Konikoff, and Sebastian Zeitz and Matt Wilkinson rode these twin fins.
To Hugh's credit, I mean, he developed these surfboards. He's right here for Jeffreys Bay, and it didn't take long for them. I mean, it's completely different equipment than they're used to riding in the water out there, but they adjusted so easily, so quickly, and so enjoyable to watch.
All four surfers whacked that board straight in their quiver, and they're taking those boards home. Let's check out the highlights from the Highline competition.
Forever, I'll tell you.
Looks like he spent some time on this, Shaun.
He looks so clean. Let's see if we can make this barrel. Oh, very cool.
Oh, there you go. See how Jordy's staying super low?
It's so interesting to see these guys on wider, thicker, shorter equipment and still be able to pull off super clean lines.
Now styling through once again. Connor Coffin. Love when he puts that arm back into the face. Putting on an amazing display of surfing, finding his flow down the line. Love when he moves his feet all the way up to the tip. Parallel, you can almost recover from that one.
I've ridden those boards. I know how difficult they are to ride. To see those guys just step on and just lay down some beautiful lines.
That was a great display of classic surfing.
Such a great concept. You know, sometimes during expression sessions, we see the world's best get out there, and you know, anytime these guys stand up, it's a form of expression. But I thought that was just a great idea, and I think we should do it at each of the stops, single fins, 20s, just different equipment shaped by locals. It was awesome to see.
Well, it gives a little bit of kudos to the folk here that have designed and shaped surfboards. I think that you know, shaping of boards is something that I'm very close to, but I think that is sometimes underwritten. It's good to see that we can finally kind of give them a place to kind of showcase their talents.
Absolutely. So some beautiful highlines in that expression session, but the highline of the event has broke news all around the world. This was our water safety team. Got caught off guard by a set wave rolling through and just took this beautiful line across the top of a Jbay.
This was a 12-point ride. I actually spoke to the guy who was driving the boat last night. I said, like, what did you think? He said, I didn't even see the wave coming. The guy sitting behind me said, hey, you better get going here. He didn't even see it coming. And he said he tried to ride it out, and then he saw the wave getting closer and closer, and that's when he gassed it.
I mean, this is truly incredible. I mean, I want to go buy one of those boats because to ride that wave as good as it did and not flip, I mean, thank goodness it didn't. And it brought us excitement, but it was very sketchy. I mean, especially we heard that this...
He's riding it, there's no acceleration,
well, look at the guy,
then he accelerates.
Well, look at the poor guy in the back. I mean, at that point in time, has absolutely no control. And he's holding on for dear life, thinking, oh, I'm going to get high-sided. But nope, we're safe. And look, he can see just the sigh of relief.
It's all fun and games until someone capsizes the boat in the contest area, and it actually would have thrown the event into a bit of a spin had he gone over, because we probably would have had to get another boat into the lineup. But thankfully, the captain handled. Heard he had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, which makes it even more impressive, if you ask me. But what a great effort.
I asked him, I said, are you a surfer guy? He said, no, I've never surfed in my life.
Well, he just did.
He did that.
With a 25-foot boat.
Mick Fanning, another pretty strong performance here in this event. He has a great relationship, not only with the wave here at Jeffreys Bay, but with South Africa in general. He arrived early, went on a special trip with WildArk, and we're going to play you some of that footage now.
When you come to Africa, it feels like you almost go back in time. Like, it's almost prehistoric. My whole job's been in nature, you know. I grew up surfing and deal with the ocean each and every day. And as I've grown up, I see the different effects of what humans do to different places around the world. And for me, getting involved with WildArk, yeah, we're trying to do a really good job with the environment and the animals, but in saying so, we do it while we're having fun.
This is a spider that's part of the tarantula family.
Oh my God!
If you guys react like that for a spider, I don't know if we should be looking for lions. Eh?
Now we're getting serious.
It's been the funnest trip that I've ever been on, you know, with a deep kind of underlying of education and learning, and you see a lot of negative representation of what's going on, and which is all realistic. It is happening, but coming out here you have a greater understanding of how much work is being done to conserve this area, and the people that are day in, day out working, you know, their whole life to preserve what should already be preserved.
These excursions are the ones that make me want to go and do something different, you know, go and just be on my time and go and just really live what we're doing, you know. Nature's out there. Wherever you go, you can find it. And, you know, conservation is, yeah, it's a very serious thing, but there's a lot of fun to be had out there, so go and enjoy it.
A special trip there for Mick Fanning and a great message. Tyler Wright was on that trip, UFC champ. Luke Rockhold, and also an Australian Rugby Union player, David Pocock, who's a part of that WildArk family as well. But the founders, I've met them, Mark and Sophie Hutchinson, doing a fantastic job, and I'm sure we'll keep up to date with their progress in their conservation efforts. But I tell you what, there's a lot to go through, a lot to process. That final was a big one. I thought Filipe on that bigger set wave at the start, I thought he should have got more. That floater, I know you're not a big fan of those tail drop floaters, Sean, but that was next level.
I thought that was a 10. I was calling that wave as a 10.
Even with the tail tap floater.
Even with that tail tap floater. Well,
it wasn't even really a tail tap.
It was a massively committed floater. And I think sometimes judges are a little bit reluctant right at the beginning of a final to lay down a 10 because they've set the scale, and if he does something beyond next level, what are they going to give him then? It's not like they can give him an 11 or 12. But this wave, just the superb carves out the back, that incredible torque and acceleration that he gets off the bottom there, and then this was just next level.
It was, and I think one of the things that kind of happened as well is that Frederico was riding a wave. Really tough to kind of differentiate. I mean, this was a much bigger wave, and then it didn't quite have that finish. But I mean, so much done on the outside that I agree. I think that the score could have gone a little higher, but either way, I think that in the end of it all, Filipe deserved to win that final, and he did.
Well, Fred, he let go of some big turns himself. So impressed with the composure of this competitor, surfing in his first final. We mentioned, Pete, during the call that he'd had a couple of quarterfinals before, and I think he let that moment get the better of him. Today, he just kept charging, he stayed focused, and he really pushed Filipe right to the end.
I mean, he's always had that demeanor, and it gets in those big heats. I mean, remember when he was that wild card in Portugal, and he took down Mick Fanning, and that was, in my eyes, I was going, wow, this guy can handle those big heats. But I think a big kudos to Richard Marsh. I think that's somebody who's really kind of kept him on point as we watch that floater again.
I was standing by Joel Parkinson and Adrian Buchan at that point when Filipe climbed on the roof, and they said it was one of the most committed turns of the event. On a set wave that big, but on a wave which actually, even though it didn't eventuate into much down the line, was promising so much to go for that turn at that point. Full commitment and a lot of risk in that turn.
And also, he was out in the wind. It is so difficult in the wind. I mean, he was right out there on the outside in the wind, and I mean, that wind could have taken him either way. It's interesting to see how much longer Frederico's board looks than Filipe's board. I mean, it looks like it's got a solid 6 inches on Filipe's board.
Such an incredible performance from Frederico, and I think we're going to see more from him. Looking forward, there's a couple events. One obviously being in his home country, that I think that one's going to be nice because I think he can tap into that local. And now, especially, I think that there's going to be double the crowd coming to support him.
No doubt. I mean, you really know what you're going to get with Frederico. There's a predictability to his approach, but the speed in which he executes his turns and the length of those maneuvers ticks every box on the criteria, and as a result, he just kept posting monster heat scores. But Filipe, just with that edge and that unpredictability, stole the show here.
I love the way that Frederico opens his arms up when he does those huge carving off the tops. It's like he just opens his arms up to the world. It's such a great thing to see.
Well, I mean, just separated by a quarter point in that final.
Very close. The next stop 7, the Billabong Pro Tahiti kicks off August 11th. Pete, your thoughts on the title race with that event coming up?
Well, I think that I'm going to take into consideration what we've already seen throughout the start of this season and say that, hey, Tahiti's going to pump. The Southern Ocean has been producing in each and every stop that we've been able to get to, knock on wood. But I think that the Pacific's been somewhat quiet, so we're going to start to see it get alive again.
Sean, a real shame Kelly's not going to be there in Tahiti. That's an event where he's had some magic performances over the years. But do you think we could see 7 different winners from the first 7 events? I
mean, it's possible. It's incredible. Everyone sort of seems to be pushing the performance envelope. Everyone's sort of realized the barrier is so high now. They're, Owen Wright coming out of nowhere to win that first one. I mean, I thought he was done. Matty Wilkinson winning in Fiji, I never thought that was going to happen. I mean, his front side just got so great. Of course, John at Margaret River was incredible. So it's so difficult to pick a winner in Tahiti.
What about a season with 12 different winners or 11 different winners? That'd be kind of cool.
It would be really cool, and we might just see it. But let's look forward to what we can expect from the Billabong Pro Tahiti. That's what we have to look forward to. I know. How was some of those shots? I'll never forget that image of Kai Otten paddling over the top of that set wave, looking back as the thing just detonated on that inside reef. Such a different wave to Jeffreys Bay, Pete.
Oh, absolutely. And you would think that some of the favorites going into that event now with Kelly out, but you'd say John, but I think really, truly, Gabriel Medina is someone to watch there. You got Ace Buchan, past winner, so I think the Goofy Foots, it's a toss-up. We unexpected here. I mean, we would have said Filipe was pretty much a favorite, but there were so many other guys that were there that were going to be in the mix, so who knows? Let's check in and watch.
Big breakthrough result. I can't wait to watch the rest of this year pan out. Shaun, it has been just gold having you join us on the Championship Tour commentary team for this event. Your final.
So stoked to be with you guys, and just to see the performance levels change at every event, and thinking, well, Jbay's kind of a predictable wave. You know, we'll most probably see the same suspects, Jordy, and we'll see Mick and Joel, and suddenly Filipe Toledo. Where did this guy come from doing maneuvers? I mean, I couldn't even imagine 20 years ago. It was just super cool for me.
Pure gold, Pete, and I know you're very excited about Tahiti. That's one place where you've had some pretty big barrels.
Yes, and again, one of the most challenging waves on the planet, one of the most dangerous waves on the planet. Again, we're going to have the whole safety team there, and let's, fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever you need to do to make sure that we get some surf there.
What was Matt Wilkinson's strategy for the event?
Head down, go, and get spit out.
I thought it was have a heart and don't die.
That too.
So I like that. That's what we can expect from the next stop on the Championship Tour. But on behalf of our entire broadcast team, thank you for watching. Enjoy the highlights, and we'll see you on August 11th.